All right, we are going to look at putting together the basic document setup that will allow us to create our house in 2-point perspective. So we're not going to walk through everything step by step. We're just going to set up essentially this horizon line and our vanishing points within the document and get that started so that you can follow along with the PDF that's included in our assignment on Canvas. You can follow all the steps in order to get this wonderful looking little house. That's so pretty. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to create mine in Photopea. Photoshop users, it will be pretty much the same thing, so no worries there. We're going to go here, File, New, and we're going to very importantly switch this over from pixels to inches. We'll do that on Photoshop as well, and we want the width to be 10. We're going to make the height of this 8. All of these ideals are on our actual instructions. So the task instructions that I'm going over today are all here until we get to the assignment PDF portion. All right. The other thing I want you to take special note of is we're going to use a 72 DPI. Photoshop users, that will say, instead of DPI, it will say resolution. And make sure you notice that there's a dot there. This is not 72,000. Okay, background at white is fine, and we're going to hit create. And now we've got our basic document window. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to create our horizon line here, and that is going to help us put down our points. So let's go ahead and I'm going to hit Command R on a Mac or Control R on a PC. Zoom in there with a Control or Command plus. And my number system up here at the top is in inches. If yours is not in inches, you can right click and you can select whichever you need. I'm just going to stay with inches. Now, if we click and drag from the top, we will bring down a horizon line. If we were to click and drag from this left side here, this would be a vertical line, which would not be what we want. So instead, I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to bring that down a little bit below halfway. So somewhere around 4 inches is pretty good for us to make this creation. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is go down here and add a new layer. And on this layer, I'm going to create my vanishing point. So I'm just going to double click on the word, and I'm just going to say VP. That's our vanishing points. And for my sanity, I'm going to change the color of my vanishing points either to a red or a blue. I'm going to pick red here. I really like seeing vibrant colors when I'm editing, and then I'll make those things disappear later. Grabbing our brush, I'm going to suggest that you maybe create your vanishing point a little bit smaller than 15 pixels. And this is just because of accuracy. If you have a vanishing point that's really, really large, it could be the difference between your lines kind of being like up or down. So anyways, let's go ahead and create one vanishing point here and another vanishing point over here. If you're talking about advanced editing and advanced drawing and stuff, a lot of vanishing points are typically off of the page. But for us and the programs that we're using, I think this will be just fine. All right, so once we've got our 2 vanishing points created, I'm going to create another layer, and this will actually be like my workspace. You can retitle it workspace, you can leave it, whatever you need. But this way, I understand that all of the editing is going to be created here. And that way, I'm going to switch over to black and set up my brush. Right here, it says grab your brush at 3 points with 100% hardness. So going back over here, I'm going to change this down to 3. But editing on this workspace here will allow me to say like, okay, if I'm editing and creating lines, let's say, for example, for some reason I make a mistake and need to re-edit, well, I can choose my eraser here and erase that stuff out without having to compromise any other elements of this image and damage those. The other thing I want to suggest to you all, which is not in the keynotes here, is using vertical lines, so on your rulers, to create this work. So let's say, for example, the first part is to essentially establish a basic frame for your house. What you may want to do instead of playing the guessing game, you see these two lines don't match up at all. What you may want to do instead is create an intersection, bring down that line, and now we have essentially a space to tell us where we need to edit. So I could erase that line there and take my brush and say, okay, well, the connecting point is actually right here. So now I've got a little bit better idea on where my intersections should occur. All right. The nice thing is we can also make those disappear if we go to our view, and then we should be able to either clear guides. That'll make them all disappear, which we don't want to do, but we should be able to go under show, and we should be able to hide our guides. So you can see for me, it will be command and this semicolon kind of thing. Whereas on a Windows computer, it should be control and semicolon, if I'm not mistaken. But we click that, they disappear. If you click command or control and then hit that semicolon, they pop back up. All right, so this should be a good setup for us in our editing to get going.